So welcome to the podcast, Tania.
Hi, Jack. Thank you so much for having me. How's it all going? I've been
I'm
following your adventures on Twitter like mad. You've been very busy.
I'm always up to something, but I mean, if you talk about adventures, you are adventuring all the time. I see slipping over in jungles and getting up to other bits and bobs, which is always pretty fascinating. And you're quite varied in the roles that you do, from assistant producer, camera op, editor. Do you have a favorite?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I adore editorial, Jack. And I'm sure just
Really?
I do because
Oh,
everyone said, "Oh, Tanya's a camera woman," but quite like yourself, sort of jack of all trades, really, because I think our job is encompassing a variety of tasks with an incredible team. Because obviously, what we do is only a small part of a large production team, which can go into the hundreds, really, especially across series or productions such as landmark series that run on for 3 or 4 years. But I love the storytelling. I love the cinematography and the camera work. So I kind of have this aspiration to become a shooting PD in the future. So I like to kind of maintain both of them if I can, rather cheekily, for my own personal projects, or through, of course, I work with Silverback Film, the fantastic Silverback Film. So they've allowed me to kind of pursue the editorial ambitions, as well as do some second camera and get additional photography credits, which is I'm very, very grateful. I'm so lucky. I'm very, very grateful every day.
so when you're saying the editing, it doesn't bother you, like being in a dark room, doing all that sort of stuff. You're quite happy, just you're enjoying the story coming together.
Yeah, so when I say editorial, because it's kind of encompasses the entire process of a production. So from kind of pre-production to post-production, my job as an AP is to basically be the right-hand woman of my producer on an episode, or the project I'm working on now, directly with my producer and director. And obviously, I'm there to basically be a field monkey and spend copious amount of time in the field and working with cinematography time, which I adore, because it's very collaborative, and I spend months researching, investigating all of the possible narratives and storylines of the particular animal we're filming, and getting together all of the logistics with our production coordinators, who are amazing. And of course, there's lots of budgeting going on. And but I mean, for me, I just adore talking to the scientists and working out, obviously, what they've been dedicating their entire lives to focusing on this animal, and the life histories that they obviously have been investigating. And I adore that. And working with camera talent means that I get to geek out and talk about codecs, which I know you're like, no, that's about that. But I love the technical. I'm very technically driven editorial person, and I just love getting kind of the best out of the different tools and particular cameras that we can use to get the best out of a sequence. And then so that's all sort of pre-production, which can lead up to the main production phase, where we're off shooting for, I mean, some of the shoots can be 9 weeks. One of my next shoots is 9 weeks, which is a bit mad. Crazy time. And then post-production is a very exciting part of the production as well, because you get to work with incredible talent, the editors, who are the master storytellers. And I obviously work very closely with my producer as well, who, sitting in the edits and creating selects and avid and building up those story beats. So our job in the field is essentially to help guide the narrative and find those gaps, really, when we're reviewing the rushes during the day, or well, during the evening rather, once we've had a long slog, 14-15 hour day. And but yeah, in the edit, everything gets put together there, and that's where the real creative process comes in. So I love all aspects of production. You just get to work the most amazing, fantastic, fabulous people as well, which I'm sure because you're involved obviously in all aspects of program making, including your photography and your presenting, which is a whole different bag.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I do it all. I think it's the filmmaking I enjoy the most. The editing,
Mm.
I'd rather take my eyes out with a rusty spoon. I really can't stand editing, but I know you have to do it to some degree. And years ago, I wanted to be a presenter, and I tried, and it just didn't
Mm.
quite work out. And then as soon as I gave up looking for it, then Countryfile asked me to do it, which is weird set of circumstances. We never go looking for these things, but it's nice to do a little bit of everything. And I guess with what you're doing, it's quite
Mm.
handy that you've got all these multi skills, because if someone needs maybe an extra hand, you're qualified, or hopefully you're qualified to do these things.
Yes, well, I must say I do. I really enjoy watching you on the one shows in the country file. You're absolutely brilliant at presenting. So they
Oh,
bloody should
stop
get you
it.
back on. I'm
Stop
not just
it.
saying that. It's
You.
true. I was saying this to your arch rival Ryan as well, because he's such a well,
He's not my rival. I mean, if you're better than someone, you're not really a rival, are you?
but no, he's brilliant. He's so fun. Obviously, I know he was a comedian for quite some time, but he's just got
Well, he
such a
says he
natural.
was. He says he was. I mean,
Where is it?
yeah.
Where's his reel? Where's his reel?
Well,
But no,
you know, I'm comfortable that he'll never listen to this, so I can say absolutely anything about him.
I'm going to tag him in the on the share.
Oh, balls. Okay.
But no, I think that's the thing. If you have a curiosity, I've always been passionate about natural history since I was very, very young. I grew up in Spain. No one believes I'm actually half Spanish, Jack. I have to say, it's the Esteban. It should be the giveaway. But I
Yeah.
grew up there for 18 years. I lived there until I was 18, and then came to the UK.
Well, your accent's flawless. Like, there's no kind of Spanish twang to it.
I should put them up of an X. I can't do it. I can only do a safe if you can accent or something like that. No,
Diversify,
yes,
yeah.
diversify. But no, it's a huge passion of mine. I think if the more aspects of production that you get involved in, the more you can actually collaborate and work with your team in a better way. For me, I've always been driven by, fantastic storytelling and obviously the visuals as well, which is why I love shooting when I can. And any spare time I have, I'm just sort of geeking out and going, right, what film project can I get involved with, or what research is my passion as well. So I think, you'll always be a researcher up until you become a producer anyway, because you're constantly reading and assessing what different storytelling angles you can take with a particular narrative. And obviously for these landmarks, you kind of focus on either a central theme or behavior, which is threaded upon a concept. So, a 5-part, 60-minute landmark episode, series will have, jungles, plains, oceans, freshwater, and various habitat-based themes. And then you have your core behavior. So it could be mating, which there's a cheeky plug for the mating game. Which
Oh no, we'll get there. We'll get there. Don't worry. We'll get there.
And of course the hunt and whatnot. Or sometimes you have more thematic seasonal series or location-based series, which is very exciting, because means you get to revisit locations with your crew and really begin to develop the characters of individual animals, which I'm sure you enjoy doing. I mean, you probably don't see the same freshwater fish again and again, do you, Jet?
Sometimes you just get a bit of a relationship with some of them. I know it sounds silly, but you do get to kind of get characters with
Yes.
some fish do have a bit of a character. So, but no, generally it is a kind of wham bang thank you ma'am. You filmed them once and you're probably not going to see that fish again. But certainly during lockdown, I got to know animals a little bit better because I couldn't travel far. So you can sometimes build up those relationships. And I know, talking to other camera ops, some of the best footage they get is when they've built up a relationship with the animal. Hugh Miles was talking about it. Charlie Hamilton James was talking about it, where they get to actually know the animal, and then they get some incredible footage because it's like almost an extended family member in a way.
Yes.
I've not quite had that with a fish yet, but somewhere down the line we'll get there. You mentioned all these series and groups that you've worked with, and I wondered how the streaming platforms like Netflix differ from traditional TV making, say like with the BBC. Is there a difference? Is it much of a muchness, or because you're in a unique perspective that you've worked with a few of these?
Yes, well, you're absolutely spot on. I think, the television landscape has changed drastically since I first began as a little junior researcher 5.5 years ago. And traditionally,
is that it? So you've sorry to interrupt there, but you've come really far in 5 years then.
Oh well, thank you.
That's incredible. That's really good. Sorry, carry on. I'm just marveling at you.
That's very sweet of you, but no, I've been very fortunate. I've always been so driven and passionate to try and work in this industry, because it's about sharing the science, and the stories that these remarkable people who've dedicated their lives to investigating. But from a platform perspective, obviously the rise of the SVODs is enormous. And God, from watching, Squid Games or Bridgerton or all of these, Queen's Gambit, which I absolutely adored, all of these big mega drama series that are encapsulating audiences all across the world. And I think the key is it is global, and you're kind of catering to a much wider audience that necessarily might prefer storytelling done in a different way, or I mean, the making ofs, of course, are always incredibly popular, and those are kind of always demanded as a separate cut film. But working with traditional broadcasters such as the BBC is different in that, you know, the way that the audience figures are kind of, you know, you have your overnights and then your kind of consolidated figures, which, you know, once a program has TX'd and transmitted, everyone's sort of keen to see the response and the reaction. But when you're kind of releasing, you know, an entire series like Our Planet, for instance, which was released on Netflix, produced by Silverback Films, incredible series, it's all released at once, and you have all of this incredible content that's taken the best part of 4 years and hundreds of people and thousands of hours of incredibly hard work to craft all of these stories and sequences together. And, you know, people kind of, you know, can dip into different narratives. You're not forcing an audience to watch a particular episode at a particular time. So you then start to see how differently people can respond to it across the world. And it's quite nice because obviously with BBC and natural history programs that are released on there, traditionally the release is in the UK first, and then depending on our co-production partners and the sales that you have, BBC Worldwide distributing it across to America or to Europe, and France TV or NHK, who were our co-producers in this recent series I worked on. And yeah, I mean, it's transmitted at different times. So you have sort of intermittent bursts of activity for a series, whereas when you release everything all online on Netflix, for example, it's available to everyone across the world, which is really exciting from my perspective, because I think it gives everyone the ability to watch it. Hopefully, obviously, in certain places of the world you don't have streaming data, but progressively more and more now people are able to watch it wherever in the world, which is more exciting because you can get those stories and the messages out quicker, which we need, as we have seen in this COP26 week, which is very exciting.
Yes, I need to really catch up with it all because there's so much being flung around, but I saw a bit of the main two takeaways are David Attenborough's speech and Boris Johnson being a bit naughty sitting next to him, which is I'm sure people have strong opinions on.
I know we could have strong words here, which we won't go into.
No, well we can, but we won't. But yeah.
We can, but he was extraordinary. It was very emotional watching it actually, because I mean, we've all read that report, the IPCC Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report, that just, I mean, it's staggering how much of a dire situation our species is in. And, you know, we need this drastic systemic change. As much as individuals, we can, you know, make changes to our lifestyles. We're incredibly privileged if we think that we, you know, most people across the world only have one source of access to protein. And, you know, us going, oh, well, we'll be organic, or we can be vegetarian, we can be vegan. Most people don't have that choice or luxury. No. And in terms of travel as well and cost, I mean, I could fly to Spain to see my family for one day and then come back and, you know, have a coffee and then fly back. And that's cheaper than visiting a friend in London. It's just the mentality of where the subsidies are going, and, you know, the taxing on fossil fuels, and, you know, it's all messed up in that regard. You know, within the 140 years that we've had fossil fuels and discovered it, you know, because we had that ridiculous period of 10,000 years of climatic stability, which has just been, you know, completely shifted because of that industrial revolution. We've moved from a largely agricultural based society to a, you know, an industrial one, and that's just completely shifted everything. I mean, from, you know, the behaviors of wildlife, obviously, and, you know, just the drastic climatic changes that we're experiencing now, which is driving many animals to the brink, unfortunately, and ourselves eventually if we don't act.
No, it's pretty you know, COVID's got us all thinking, but the climate crisis is going to make COVID look like nothing if the way it's going. So it's pretty scary in some ways. So you mentioned the mating game. Let's give that a healthy plug. So recently you've been working on the mating game, which is obviously a BBC blue chip series, Attenborough series. For people that, I mean, by the time people are listening to this, it's already been out, so you'll be able to catch it on iPlayer. But what's it about, and what was it like to work on?
Well, thank you very much. It was a very exciting series to be involved in. I got involved from the beginning, which was really exciting. I applied for the researcher position on it, and back in 2017 or 18 now. And yeah, essentially, it's kind of the succession from The Hunt for any of those of you who've seen that series, which was one of my all-time favorite series, because it used very much immersive technology and had the most incredible macro sequences as well. Because for me, obviously megafauna is amazing, remarkable, but is those sort of, the Portia spider and all of these micro stories that really, encapsulated me, because they're so nuanced, the behaviors that we'd never even seen before in that much detail. And so the Mated game is basically a 5-part landmark series that looks at the extraordinary behavioral strategies and the struggles and trials and tribulations really of animals trying to win over a mate, which on paper, obviously it was a sort of big seller, because you think, oh, well, everyone could sort of relate to the challenges of all of life on Earth, trying to procreate and pass on genes really. And the amazing strategies that animals do deploy to win a mate is obviously, the whole concept and what we're filming, because no one wants to just see hours of copulation, let's call it that.
I mean, I think there will be an audience somewhere for it.
Sadly, perhaps, yes.
Yeah.
Although, because I saw some of the statistics that released, it cracked me up. Going, nearly 4,000 hours of foreplay. I was like, it's more like pre-ritualized courtship but let's just say, okay.
And 8 hours of mating I have in my notes as well.
8 hours of mating, although especially for birds, I mean, how it's so quick.
In and out, yeah.
Well, literally. And the cloacal kiss, as Chris Packham beautifully refers to it as. But no, it was an amazing series, and it's obviously it's based around habitat, so freshwater plains, grasslands, and jungles as well. And the final episode kind of actually looks at more how we've affected the sort of breeding behaviors, how some of these animals have gone to the absolute extremes to be able to breed, either through extreme morphology or to being pushed to the limits because we've interfered with how they breed. And course as well, which is obviously increasingly an issue. But I worked across the main programs that I worked on were the plains, jungles, and oceans apps, which was really exciting because completely different environments, each one with its own challenges. And of course, COVID hit mid production, which was fun.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, because I think, is it the first episode you've got the Nursery Web Spiders?
Yes, that's correct.
And I loved that. I thought that was an absolutely amazing sequence, and it was lovely to see something British on a blue chip for a change. And I thought, I wonder if they've done that because of COVID, or is it because it's an interesting behaviour? So was it a happy accident, or was it kind of COVID limiting your travel?
Well, it was a bit of both, really. We were brought this story by the fantastic Nick Gates, actually. He
I love Nick. He's a great guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's Mr. British wildlife. He's just such an incredible naturalist, and so he brought it to our team. And I mean, it was just such a perfect fit for the sort of narrative beats that we were looking for, because there's so many aspects to its behavior, the deception as well, which is fantastic to implement in a behavioral sequence. So yeah, I mean, I was really excited the fact that we did have another macro sequence in the in the plains episode. So Jeff Wilson was in touch with him about that as well, and he said, right, well, let's get some British wildlife on the TV as well. But also we were completely locked. That was sort of at the height of COVID, where unfortunately we had to drop a few international sequences. But obviously we did manage to get some of the big ones like the ostrich, which that was really exciting to be a part of that. And that was in Namibia, in southern Namibia, where actually I was really, really excited and proud that in making of which I was there during the time shooting the amazing Steve Brooks Hartman, who's an incredible drone pilot, and with Martin Kolbeck as well, who's absolute legend in our industry. And we did witness the aspects of climate change which have shifted the breeding seasons of these animals, because it's been so difficult to predict. It was really hard to predict some of the the ritualized courtship behavior for some animals, and thankfully when we came back a second time, we were able to capture it in its full resplendent nuptial plumage during the cantling. But it was really harrowing to see that the entire quiver tree forest there in the Karas region was completely, just destroyed by termites because of the exacerbated droughts. And there have been failed breeding seasons and failed years where the ostrich haven't been able to reproduce, and it's heartbreaking to see. And so yeah, I mean, in those circumstances, it really did bring home the aspects of climate change that have affected the animals. But then it gave us opportunities where we couldn't go abroad, where we did actually see and get the opportunity to film animals closer to home. And I know that obviously there are exciting series that are focusing, you know, closer to home, which I can't tell you about, but I'm sure you'll be talking to those people. So, yeah, it is really great to see that.
So, because for people that haven't seen it, so the Nursery Web Spiders are just one that you can find in the UK. I say just one; they're amazing creatures, but they kind of give a gift to a mate. Is that right? If I'm remembering that right? But sometimes they'll pick up just a bit of debris and wrap it up and pretend and kind of fool the female mate, which is amazing. It's absolutely incredible.
It is. It's the gift giving. Yeah, I mean, deception in the animal kingdom and as a mating strategy in general is amazing. It's remarkable to see, and we did that again with another insect species. One of my favorites, the Asian synchronous fireflies. And we filmed this aspect of their courtship because everyone's like, oh, great, okay, fireflies and their synchronous flashing displays. And this is in Kuala Selangor, again, another area which has been heavily impacted by the oil palm industry. But filming their, synchronous displays was incredible. And I know you would have loved it. As a beetle species, they're absolutely fascinating. And obviously, they develop underground as larvae, and they only have 2 weeks to breed, which seems mad. But the males, once they actually attract in a female, will actually go up to the female and blind the female with his lantern, so she can't see any incoming males, and then block other males from seeing her response flash. So there's a delay. There's usually a delay of 1.7 seconds where the female will respond to a male, but once he's actually on her, he'll actually blind her and stop the other males from seeing it. So you see this massive collaboration of these males synchronously flashing to attract the females in. The signals, these extraordinary signals, can be seen from hundreds of meters away. It's like Christmas. I mean, you go down this amazing river, 100-meter stretch, just like disco pulsating down the river. But yeah, I mean, this deception was filmed for the first time, and it was, obviously due to the incredible scientists we worked with, Veronica Koo, who'd been studying this particular behavior. But those more nuanced behaviors that you see in insect species, I think is really exciting to bring to the screen.
It's always harder, like pandas or whatever. I know you worked with my friend Jackie Poon on pandas, didn't you? He's a good mate of mine.
Jackie, don't you just love him? So you were on the same course together.
I've known Jackie since I was 16. Yeah, he went to college with me, and then we went to uni together, and then he became wildly successful and buggered off to China. Well, yeah, but he's a great. I love him. He's been on the podcast actually. We did have a natter on him.
I know. I heard you both. I mean, he's. I'm so excited because I'm going to be filming with him on a very exciting project next year. I was like, yes.
How are you? Oh, good.
We've known each other for about 6 years now, but we've never been on a shoot. I was like, Jackie, we have to get on a bloody shoot together. So it's finally come to fruition. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
But he's amazing. Party yeah. He should come here for a rough assembly. It's like, 30 days of quarantining back in China is so worth it for rough assembly. Come over.
Yeah, he will. He'll do it. He's a good lad. So with the mating game, there must have been a point where things get a bit graphic if we're filming a lot of mating. And I know it's natural history, but at times it's going to get a little bit saucy. So when does the cameraman keep filming and then you decide in the edit? I mean, like, and what is, because I'm trying to think, this is kind of evening TV, so presumably it's not going to be too. I don't want to say pornographic. That's not the right word, but you've got to
explicit.
Explicit. That's a great word. So, like, how are you deciding where goes what and what to show and what not to show?
Good question, because it can be quite graphic. I mean, we're sort of sat there going, wow. And obviously, we're going, yes, hold it steady. You're going in for a tight, you're going for a wide, and you go, oh, this is a little bit, this feels quite dirty. But you're so fascinated because it's a behavior at the end of the day, and every organism needs to breed. It's just, I mean, the only thing that is a little bit is when it's a primate. It's familiar.
It's familiar.
It's too much because it's like, whoa, okay, ventral, and all of this, and you think, wow, okay, that's very human-like. So, I mean, the thing is, there are obviously children watching this series, and all of those decisions are made in the field, and that we do continue to shoot, because obviously it's a behavior, and it's kind of what we do want to show. Like, for instance, when the ostriches do have quite a large
Yes, I
appendage.
remember. It's quite impressive. Yeah, it's a big wiggly thing. Yeah.
As do the eastern grey kangaroos have. I mean, they are quite graphic with their copulation. They're very, very energetic, to put it in a polite term, when they're copulating. And obviously this whole mate guarding as well, which is part of the sort of courtship strategies. So we do continue to shoot, and then later on in post production and the edits, we kind of decide to go for a tighter shot or more creative. The key word which we used in the field was dingle, and we went, dingle please. And dingle is just basically foreground foliage to make it look quite
Yes.
a bit sexy, but you don't see the appendage, you don't see the graphic of it, and you go, okay, that's a bit more dingle please. So let's shoot it through here. It's all about perspective, Jack. All about of course, we were thinking in terms of which perspective do we film it. Do we film it from the male perspective or the female perspective? Because this is something obviously that film directors really think about in drama as well. When you're talking about a romantic series or something that's focusing on a romance novel or a period drama, for instance, you always think about perspective and camera angles. So that's something that we also considered as well, to make it gender neutral and very PC. I hope it paid off.
Well, I've only seen the first one, so I need to watch the others, but I'm sure it will be fine. I remember, I can't remember what series it was. It might have been Blue Planet, but there's one of them with males mating, and that was quite impressive. But it's not. I mean, you can tell what it is, but it's not very human-like. So I think they got away with it, but they did show the whole.
That's correct.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive for them to kind of show all that off. And it's interesting to talk about gender there as well, because on the perspective, because we've spoken before on the podcast about why so few women are in camera roles.
Yes.
And I wondered what your thoughts were on that.
Yes, well, I mean, I think a lot of the female camera people are very passionate about talking about it, because we are, quite hugely underrepresented in the craft department. And certainly when I was a young little sproglet in Spain watching Attenborough, I mean, originally I thought I was going to be an animator when I was about 8. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to work for Disney. Because it's all about storytelling, and I love to draw and art. But then I was really interested in natural history and prehistoric history. And then I remember watching, obviously, the great Sir David Attenborough and his incredible documentaries and Planet Earth for the first time. But when I watched the making of, I saw the amazing, who's my absolute hero, Sophie Darlington and Justine Evans, who are incredible cinematographers and DOPs. You should absolutely speak to them. They're incredible, amazing.
I'm trying.
She's both very busy ladies.
Yeah, no, I get that.
They hugely inspired me, because it's about that. I think visibility is incredibly important, and I think certainly when you look at the top 10 tech organizations in the world, which are worth over $13 trillion, these tech brands, none of the CEOs are women, and women do have we have the technical ability, we have the technical language. I work as an ambassador for various tech brands, and I do talks and things like that to try and encourage and show that women can be part of this discussion, and also involvement directly in manufacturing them or indeed using them. So that's, for me, I use these products to tell stories, and technology isn't something to be frightened of, because they're amazing, incredible tools to be able to tell beautiful visual stories. So I'm certainly very passionate about trying to encourage young women to get into this industry. And I'm hugely grateful to Sophie and Justine Evans for giving me so much advice over the years, and obviously being a huge inspiration to so many of us young women to be able to get into the craft department as well as editorial. And for so long I've kind of been trying to say just storytelling doesn't have to be in the realms of men, and obviously there are environments that are very difficult to be able to film in, but when I'm working with DOPs, male cameraman, when we're filming in some of these very, very hard conditions, especially in jungles, I wish I could tell you where we're going now, but it's very, 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 compromising circumstances, very hard environment.
Okay.
But we always have assistance because with health and safety, I can't permit my crew to be carrying the 10-kilo Atlas 40 with the carbon fiber legs with the CN20 and the Hino, because it's too much for them. Yeah. It's too much for any one person to carry. So I'm assisting carrying them. We have assistants to help us through the environment. And then we, obviously when you're setting up and you're shooting, that's you as an individual, but anyone can do that who's actually sort of gifted or talented at shooting. And so, yeah, I just encourage as many women to get involved as possible. And always, trying to sort of, fly the flag for female filmmakers all over the world.
Well, yeah, definitely. It doesn't seem to be a lack as who want to get into it. Because when I look at the course I was on, and there's one in Bristol, is it the MA Wildlife Filmmaking?
Yes.
It's nearly always 50. Oh, you did it. There you go. So it seems to be either 50-50 or sometimes even more women. So there's definitely a hunger from women to do it. I just don't get why it's not filtering. I know it takes time and whatnot, and I think it is getting better. I think. I don't. Yes. I think it is getting.
Yes,
better.
Absolutely. I mean, and I know Sophie and Justine have been at Wildstar. They've set up an incredible academy now, which has just been recently on social media to encourage women from all over the world and diverse people from all over the planet to be able to get involved with shooting, because we do need a range of storytelling voices, and it doesn't matter. I think it's just part, it was during the time back when the industry, people associated women with being more editorial perhaps, or managerial, of course, production coordinators, managers. But now more and more women. I mean, I know you interviewed the amazing Jessica, who I love. She's incredible.
Yeah, legend, isn't she?
Legend, and amazing people that you've interviewed who are female filmmakers, and equally, and there are so many male cameramen who are very supportive of that as well, and Tom Rowland as well, who I'm working with at present. He's fantastic, incredible, up and coming rising star. He's incredibly supportive of women in the industry as well. And I think it's about support, men or people in positions of power, being able to hire and trust that women can actually do it. And, being able to shoot and actually get credits, I think is probably the hardest thing for any, female. And there was a remarkable article the other day by We Are Women Doc that investigated how many women, when they're a researcher versus AP, get the opportunity to shoot. I think it's only 23% actually get the opportunity when they're at AP level, I believe, to shoot. And I was incredibly fortunate when I was a researcher that I could actually pick up a camera. But it's about someone giving you the opportunity with these high-end cameras to say, I have experience on a Red, I have experience, on an X7, Inspire 2, building up your drones. Someone has to trust you and give you the opportunities, because who the hell can afford to hire, £100,000 setup? But now camera technology has become so much more accessible, and that's why I love doing my own short personal films as well, to keep up my shooting. And I love shooting. Obviously, I have to shoot with Panasonic because I work with them. But they, the camera technology is becoming far more accessible now to everyone. And I see some incredible work that, young aspiring camera people that are sending to me. I'm like, God, they're so talented. They're amazing. And just, editing your own work, coming up with the narrative, the storytelling, that's all you want to see. And the passion has to be there. It's very much a lifestyle, as I can see it is with you and all of our colleagues that we talk about on the Twitter sphere or, in the industry. They're so passionate. All the people that you interview are just absolute complete nature nerds. And we all engage, and we just want to share stories that, hopefully encourage people to care about the natural world. So any gender can do that.
That's the dream, isn't it? And that's the hope. And I think, there's more and more people doing it, which is only a good thing. I've noticed a lot of people in wildlife filmmaking, like yourself, have a zoological degree as opposed to, say, a photography or a filmmaking one. And I wondered, would you think that is more useful? Is it more useful to have a zoological degree, or would you steer people more in the direction of a kind of technical degree?
It depends, really. I mean, I know some incredible researchers and assistant producers who've never gone through the scientific route. I've always just been a total nerd. You should have seen me, Jack. I was such a loser, just roaming around the mountains. Well, because southern Spain is such a fabulous migratory corridor for migratory birds in Spain. So short-tailed eagles,
Extremadura. Oh, I'm going to butcher this.
Extremadura.
Yeah, that's the one.
Although I was in Andalusia, so more south
Okay.
coast.
Okay.
And actually, because near Gibraltar, near Gib, you get amazing, raptors, obviously, that are migrating, and fabulous migratory corridors. But short-toed eagles and European bee-eaters and golden
Yeah.
orioles. So I was always nerding out, and I'd always just been passionate about science, and I knew that I'd want to get into a zoology degree. So I did everything I could to study the sciences, but also keeping up I couldn't afford a camera at the time, so I had this really crappy Coolpix Nikon camera, like 3 optical zoom.
Oh, steady on. Steady on.
And I used to do lots of macro photography because I couldn't shoot anything else. I'd be like, look, there's the short-toed eagle. And it's carrying, a culebra, which is a snake species. I don't actually know the name of in English, but it'd be, in talons. And I think, whoa, it'd be only 15 meters away. But, 1% of my screen would be filled with it because it's not a proper SLR. But when I could afford it, eventually, I got my Canon 1000D with my Tamron 200. Could actually finally start capturing images. But I built up a portfolio whilst I was kind of aiming towards a zoology degree. So I then came to the UK on a scholarship because, it's quite expensive to study in Spain as well. And coming to the UK gave me so many opportunities to, join all these nerd clubs, which was brilliant, and outdoorsy clubs. So I kind of found my tribe, really. And then I did the master's in wildlife filmmaking in Bristol. So everything was to come to Bristol. But in my personal experience, you don't have to be. If you're good at telling stories and you're passionate about telling stories, you don't necessarily need a research background. I admit it does help in that when I'm reading papers, like today I'm reading a paper, I can't tell you which paper I'm reading because it'll give away the game. But understanding the sort of methodologies or things like that can help you build up relationships with scientists maybe a little quicker or in a more sincere way, because you're genuinely understanding what process they've been through to do ANOVAs.
You're speaking the same language.
Yes, exactly. And it does help. So I have to admit, it does help. It did help me. And also that's how I got my first gig on BBC Wildcat series, because I'd done some research on Iberian lynx, and also I could speak the language, Spanish. So I went back to my hometown, which was exciting. I was like, oh, back in Malaga. But no, certainly, I think storytelling is the key. It doesn't matter if you have a zoology degree. It would be good. It's useful. But as long as you can read papers and you enjoy reading them, that's totally fine. Passion is absolutely 100% necessary. And, reading, I know some of the best naturalists are people who just avid readers and actually get out there and observe wildlife, because we can all be sat behind a desk, but like yourself, I think, gosh, you must never be indoors. You're just out swimming. You're like Aquaman.
I think my wife would probably wish I was Jason Momoa, but no.
Only for Halloween and Comic-Con.
Yeah, just special occasions. Yeah, but yeah, I probably put myself in the bracket of naturalist, where I haven't got a degree in zoology or anything, but I just spend.
Really, I would never have known. You're so knowledgeable.
No, I just read a lot of books and just go out and look at things. So yeah, maybe I'm the prime example of the other way, I guess.
Well,
but then I wouldn't say you have to have a degree in photography or filmmaking necessarily. I mean, you can pick that up. So I think a degree isn't a be all or end all for sure.
No, God, no. I don't want people to be under that impression. Of course, and there's the cost implications as well. I had to get a scholarship to be able to afford it, because especially unfortunately my age group hit when the fees were like colossal.
But you got stung.
I got stung, so I had to really, study and be able to afford to do that, because it is a big sort of shift coming from a different country. But absolutely, academia was for me, and if I wasn't in wildlife, I probably would be studying, bat feces somewhere in the Congo or something. Something.
We'd all be doing it. Everyone would be getting stuck into some guano.
But no, you're a perfect example. I had absolutely no idea. You're so knowledgeable and passionate, and have, that's the thing. Being a great naturalist is someone who has the ability to recall and retain all of that information like that, because they're passionate about it. It's not a day job that you have to go, oh, okay, let me, it's a passion, a full-time.
It doesn't feel like work.
No, exactly.
It doesn't.
So I completely agree.
There we go. And before we go, for someone getting into wildlife filmmaking industry, what advice would you give them?
Okay, well, I'd say, obviously, number one, as we've discussed, with the passion and, being able to showcase your ability to tell stories. I mean, that's absolutely crucial for wildlife filmmaking. It's all visual narrative and storytelling that producers and commissioners are looking for. I think if you're interested obviously in wildlife filmmaking, you have to watch a lot of the content. There's a lot of people who get in touch and say, what's your favorite documentary and series? And if you're able to really understand the landscape of what's actually out there, that's a great start, because then you can begin to see what genre you like working in. Do you enjoy, because obviously there's been a huge dynamic shift into conservation and storytelling narratives that focus on the environment, which is super exciting because that wasn't around when I started out. Or are you more interested in the blue chip purist behavioral series, which again people adore because it's showcasing the natural world to its absolute full glory, and all the life histories of the animals that you can watch and learn from. So find out what your niche is, what niched part of the industry you want to work in. Also what roles you want to be involved in, because there's a whole aspect of from production to pre-production to post-production, editing or camera work, as we've said, the craft department, or editorial, becoming a researcher and an assistant producer and a producer. So getting work experience is such a fantastic and valuable time well spent, because I know it is expensive. We've all been there. We're going, oh God, I've got to live on a couch with a friend for a month, because you're trying to get work experience in Bristol, but now there's remote work experience opportunities thanks to COVID, which one good thing to come out of it. But getting work experience and connecting with producers, production managers as well, because obviously they're the ones who have talent lists, and obviously making a good impression is hugely important in networking. But I think if you're genuinely sincere and you do enjoy talking to people about your passion and their work as well, it comes across, because we're all good people in the industry, and we're very passionate about what we do. We're trying to help conserve the planet. So I think absolutely going to network, but obviously coming across as a genuine nice person is always great, because we want to work with nice, kind people in the field. And create content. That is my key takeaway. Create your content. There's endless opportunities to create content now. Platforms, podcasts. Don't compete with Jack, so his is great.
Yeah, don't do a podcast. Don't do that.
But YouTube is fantastic. Vimeo, obviously, where all professionals go. When we put all the letterbox bands, get all the aspect ratios.
I think that's the only thing keeping Vimeo going is professional filmmakers, isn't it? Just uploading show reels and then doing nothing else for 6 months.
Precisely, but absolutely get your content out there, and social media platforms are a fantastic way to connect with like-minded individuals.
Yeah.
And see
TikTok
the work
now as well, things like TikTok.
I know. Have you jumped into that realm?
I feel like I'm too old for TikTok. I don't know. Maybe I'm not. I've got friends who do it, and I don't understand. My partner loves it, and I've seen the odd thing. I don't know what it is.
You should TikTok your fish.
Like apparently someone messaged me. So a quick deviant. I won't try and steal too much limelight from you, but on my
I want to know.
On my we'll flip on my YouTube channel. Someone messaged the other day, "Oh, that's lovely to see Paul," and they kept and then 4 or 5 different people put Paul, and I thought, what? Who's Paul? What's going on here? And I just commented and said, "Who's Paul?" Because it was a video about mayflies, and they went, "Oh." Someone's taken that clip, put it on TikTok, and it's gone viral, and they've just called it Paul the Mayfly. And I was like, so no. I need to download TikTok to try and find it. But apparently someone's taken my clip, and what can you do? I'm not too fussed, but I just find that really funny that I've gone viral. I didn't know.
That's amazing. I've got to see that. I haven't got TikTok. I'm going to get.
I just want to know what they've done. because I think you can put. I sound like a granddad now, but I think you put sound over video, and you can make your own little things. And I don't know if they've put music, because it's bouncing. It's like it looks like it's doing press ups. So I guess someone's probably put I don't know ska music on it or something. I don't know. So I'll dig it out. I'll hunt around.
You're going viral and you don't even know it.
No, I know. Who knew? Anyway, so I rudely interrupted you about.
No, I think it's brilliant. I'm excited.
Advice in the wildlife industry, but yeah.
No, and but by all means, if anyone is, I don't know what information I can can offer people, but I'm always available and happy to chat to people and try and get them as much advice as possible. And because it is an incredible industry, hard work. I mean, I spend so long away from friends and family, and it can be hard. But I mean, we're in such a privileged position, in that we have the potential and the power to, as you've seen some of these clips that go viral, like Paul. These very important messages that go out to the world, to global leaders, to be policymakers that are changing the face of our planet, especially now the geopolitical status across our planet is on, on the tipping point, as we're making, pacts and legislation that is going to protect our planet for future generations. Hopefully systemic change is coming so that we can actually have a sustainable planet. And all of, the visuals that you saw behind David Attenborough on that speech, again, by the amazing colleagues at Silverback, these are so powerful, these images that make people resonate and connect with the voice, with the words that everyone is involved in. It's so important. So storytelling at its best, wildlife filmmaking it's 100% worth getting into. So yes, if anyone has any questions, I'm always happy to try and help in any way I can.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the way forward, and I'm sure people will be hitting your Instagram DMs now, asking you loads of questions about how to do it all. Well, look, Tania, it's been absolutely great to finally chat to you, because it's the first time we've spoken properly. So it's nice to have a little waffle and talk about wildlife. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much, Jack, and good luck with Paul and your aquarium. I look forward to seeing more of that.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye.
Take care.